Hello and welcome. Welcome to our session to introduce you to our Black Life in America resource and provide tips and tools to help connect with patrons, faculty, students, all of your library users. My name is Catherine Bergerson. I'm the Assistant Vice President of Marketing at Newsbank. I'll be joined today by my colleague, Matt Stawicki. Black Life in America covers the experience and impact of African Americans as recorded by the news media beginning in 1704, and it's updated daily. This resource is designed to support discussions and research around issues related to diversity, equity, inclusion, and social justice. In the next 30 minutes, we will share with you an overview of the collection that draws from nearly 19,000 global sources, including the richest collection of African American newspapers available. We'll share best practices to engage your users, ideas to build visibility for this and your other Newsbank resources, and we'll talk about the many ways that we're here to support you. So if that sounds good to everyone, let's dive right in. I'd like to share a brief background on Newsbank. We are a leading news and information provider to public libraries, research institutions, schools, and more. And I'm proud to share with you that we recently celebrated our 49th anniversary. We aggregate news sources from around the world, bringing you and your patrons, faculty, students, again, all of your users, credible, vetted, global news sources, many of which are unique to Newsbank, and all are available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week from any device. Today, the reason you're all here is to share with you one of our newest products, Black Life in America. To show us around the resource and uncover its incredible content is my colleague, Matt Stawicki, Vice President of Sales. Hi, Matt.
Thanks, Catherine. Appreciate it. So Black Life in America, I'd like to give you a quick overview of this resource. We built this resource a little differently from the others. We met with historians, curriculum directors. We looked at curriculums, academia, community colleges, and so on, so that we could get a good understanding of what is the information that people are looking for on this specific topic. From there, we built algorithms that would dig into the archive of data that we have. We've got an archive of historical data and current data that surpasses 1.5 billion documents and sources. So we really wanted to pull everything forward. When we got done building and released this resource, it had approximately 86 million documents in it, pulling from 19,000 sources. We updated on a daily basis, and now it is approaching 89 million documents. Okay. For those of you that are familiar with Newsbank, you'll note here we've got a Google-like search bar. So we can search this entire database and dig in using keyword searching. But the real meat to this resource is the timeline. As you'll notice, we've got a timeline here that highlights every major era in history, but from an African American experience. Underneath each of these eras in history, you'll note we've got categories. And then underneath of each of these categories, you will notice that there's a different either people or events highlighting what happened during this specific era. So here we've got notable people, rebellions, and uprisings. Okay. As you go through the timeline, you'll note you can click and additional categories will open up. We really want to show the full impact and experience of African Americans. So you'll see that we're getting into everything. Education, government, arts, literature, science, technology, and so on. Again, click on any one of these and it will open up and give us the information that ties to that specific category during that specific era. So example is if I search out Octavius Catto, you'll see this will run a very targeted search. Now this search can be modified, so if you wanted to change it or add additional data to it, you can. But you'll note, very targeted, 143 results. Down the left-hand side, you'll note additional filters if I wanted to further filter my data. That example is if I click on this article here. That will open up that article. And this article comes from the Trenton State Gazette, October 17th, 1871. That article has already been clipped out of the newspaper. You'll note here we've got a set of tools for the user. So the user can search this page or this issue. And the reason this issue is here is you'll note over here on my thumbnails, I've got 3 pages of this specific newspaper loaded. I can get information on this. So in this case, it's giving me information, and this article is pulled from page 2. I can create the citation. If I'm using EasyBib, RefWorks, or Noodle tools, I can export to any one of those bibliography tools. Example here's the MLA8 citation. This citation can be copied and pasted anywhere you need. You can email the information to someone. So who do I want to send it to? From me, a random message, hit send, and that will shoot off to them. You've got a clip function because for all of our historical data, and for that matter, we've got current newspapers, they are in image editions. So this allows me to clip information off of the page. So example would be, if I want to clip just this first portion of this article, I can highlight it, and then I've got the option to print it, download it to a PDF, or save it to my Google Drive. So if I click download, I can actually include the citation, and what that will do is that will clip that portion directly off of the page. You'll see here, I've got a nice clean PDF of that article now, including the citation. So I can use this and include this in my project or assignment. Again, you can print full page, select the clip from it, download the full page or clip. We give you a chance to even save the information in a folder you can create on Newsbank. Here we have a permalink. So if I copy this link, I can put it into a lesson plan. I can put it up on a whiteboard. I can send it to a student or a teacher. Whenever they click on it, it will always open up to this article. And then if you're using Google Classroom, this can be downloaded to the assignment in Google Classroom. We also integrate with Canvas and Blackboard and Blackboard and are working on other LMS systems. So fully integrated. If you've got multiple pages, I can go and peruse different pages within the newspaper this way, or using my thumbnails. And then we give you the breadcrumbs here, so you never get lost. So I can click right here, and I'm right back to the reconstruction error that I was looking at. All of these are designed the same. So example would be is if I go into something more recent and click on activist groups and protests, you'll see these are all the issues that we're hearing on the news, seeing on social media, and so on. If I want to get information on when Black Lives Matter founded, I can click that, and you'll note that now that I'm in something more recent, I've got an audio file, I've got full text information, and then I've got image editions of current newspapers. If I click on this first full text article, I can show you the difference here. So now I can increase my text size, again, create the citation and export it to any one of these tools, email the information, print it, download it, save it to an internal folder. Again, we've got the permalink, the Google Classroom, and one additional feature we have with the full text articles is a read-along. By clicking that, it will highlight the words.
Dignity marchers stand fast on demands. Enough is enough.
And read right along. So very, very easy to use and really helps to support tier 1, 2, and 3 learners. And again, I've got my breadcrumbs. So I can go right back to where I started. All of the timeline entries are the same. They will just highlight additional information. So if I go into civil rights, for example, and I go to notable people, you'll see here, we really are trying to show the full impact. I've got Ralph Bunche, a Nobel Peace Prize winner. Wilma Rudolph, an Olympian. If I scroll to the bottom, I've got Jackie Robinson, a baseball player, Paul Robeson, musician. And of course, we've got lots of people that everybody's going to recognize, like Martin Luther King. So if I do a search for Martin Luther King here, you'll see again, very targeted search, just 49 results, even though I've got 89 million documents. But the one thing I'll point out here, the search, we searched for Martin Luther King Jr. and Michael King. I myself never knew why would we search for Michael King if I'm looking for Martin Luther King Jr. And I learned this by looking at this database. So if I scroll down a little bit, okay, and I click on this article here, it poses a question. Was Martin Luther King Jr. his real name? And come to find out, it was not. He was born and christened Michael King in January of 1929. And it wasn't until later that his father rechristened him Martin Luther King Jr. and himself Martin Luther King Sr. I show that because it's just a piece of information that you would think everybody would know, but really next to nobody knows this. I did a little research because it stoked my curiosity, and I found out that his father was a pastor in Atlanta, went to Europe, and met a pastor in Europe during the 1930s when Hitler was just starting his rule by the name of Martin Luther. He was so moved by that when he returned, he rechristened his son and himself. That really gives you a good idea on how that timeline works. I'll pause right now for questions. Are there any questions?
Thank you, Matt. Yes, that's a great reminder to everyone. If you have a question, please feel free to type it in. We do have a few to get started, but please type them in and we'll get to as many as we can. The first is, tell us about the effort that has been made to focus on materials written by African Americans or from African American magazines, newspapers, or other publications.
Yes, there is. In the source list, we do identify the sources that are available within this database that are from maybe Black-owned newspapers, from writers of color, and so on. We make an effort to pull information across the board unbiasedly.
Thank you. And is there a category where health issues would be found?
Health issues?
Correct.
So yes, they do pop up. As a matter of fact, just got to remember where. Let me see here. I thought they did, but I'm not seeing that category. So I will look into that deeper. I know I have seen it, but I'll look into that deeper so that I can answer that question via email.
And that actually is that brings us to another great question. They're similar. If there's an issue or a category that we don't see, is there a way to request that?
Yes. If you let us know that there's something you're looking for and you can't find it, what we'll do is we'll get that into the hands of our editor. They will look and see if we've got the information to support that specific topic and then add it. An example of that would be right here in the Jim Crow era under arts and literature here. One of our Texas school districts, in their curriculum, they study the Fisk Jubilee Singers. So we were made aware of that, and we did the research and was able to add the information and create the search to bring back results around the Fisk Jubilee Singers to help them with their curriculum.
Excellent. Thank you. All right. In the interest of time, let's move on, and we will continue to pause and get to more questions in the next few moments.
Yeah. Okay. So the second portion of this that I'd like to show you is the keyword searching. So example is we can type in a term such as race relations, and it will search that entire database. Now that will return, of course, a very, very large set of results, just shy of 770,000 results. And that's where these filters down the left-hand side come in handy, because the importance here is getting to the content. Okay, so I can resort my data by best match. It automatically sorts by newest first, or I can go to the oldest. Now, filter-wise, we've got multiple date filters. So here you can see a slide bar where I've got data from 1850 all the way through to present. I could use that slide bar, for example, and slide it to where I see the spike in 1990. And if I hit apply, that will filter my data from 1990 just to present. I can actually enter my own dates. So I can go to a specific day, month, year. I can go to a range, past 6 months, from this year to that year. So you can do your own date fields. If you wanted to go to a specific year, you could do so. And you'll note the numbers here. They basically show the number of results for that year. I clicked on this because I can show you here we've got all these years. And then if I click, I can resort my data. So now I've got the newest as opposed to the oldest first. All of your filters have that More Options tab. I can go to a specific title. So if I'm looking for a specific source, I can go to that source. We are pulling information from our entire database. So I've got information from over 200 countries around the world. So I can filter to continent, country, region, state, province, or city. So an example, maybe I want to get data only from the state of Florida. I can scroll down, click on Florida, and hit apply. So now I've applied that filter, and now I go from 770,000 results down to just 36,000. And you'll see here, now I can get even closer. I can go to a specific city. So that allows me to get to a very local perspective, to a state perspective. I could do a region, a national, or even an international perspective. I've got multiple languages available, and the languages will be determined by what I've got filtered. Okay. I can go to article type for the historical data, of course, the errors in history that we had, and even presidential errors. So how might I use this data? An example is I've already got Florida loaded, so maybe I want to look at what is the perspective in Florida on race relations from 100 years ago. So now I've got data loaded just from 1921. So I can figure out what that perspective is and compare that perspective, for example, to 1971, 50 years ago. I can then compare that to today. I could go to a different state maybe and say, how does Florida compare to California? Or for that matter, I could say, how does Florida compare to Africa? So as you can see, you can get perspectives, again, from local to state to national to regional and international. I can compare and contrast past and present. So many different ways you can use this data. I'm just going to refresh this and show you one other search that might come in handy. Maybe I want to know what are schools and colleges doing about diversity. So if I just type in this case, I got diversity and schools, that gives me that result set. And then again, I can go to a specific location. So if I want to know what are schools doing about diversity, okay, but only in a specific state, in this case, I'll just try Arizona. Well, that's going to filter my results just to that set. So now I can look at schools and diversity in Arizona and use that information in my professional development classes and so on with my teachers and faculty. Any questions on how these filters work or how that keyword searching works?
Thank you, Matt. We don't have a question about that, but going back to the categories and topics, is there a category or topic that currently exists, or have we considered adding a topic about Black joy and some more of the celebratory stories?
They would show up under, example would be under probably, I mean, where I would think that they would show up would be, example is, you know, underneath arts and literature or the different areas or categories that they do exist in. One of the things we can do though is we can bring that suggestion forward to see if we can create a specific category around that and then add that category, for example, to, you know, the specific errors in time.
Excellent, thank you. Yes, and within notable people, I would guess there are notable people within those categories too, but yes, we will take that back to our editorial team. And I see another one coming in. Let's see. Oh, could you please show where the option is to search by state?
To search by state. Okay. So multiple ways you can do that, of course, but if we just do, I'm just going to do a search up here, and I'll do, in this case, I'll do social justice, and I'll put that in quotes, of course, and search. So the easiest way I find to search by state would be to do my search first, so I get a good set of results, and then I simply come down here to source location, click more options, and pick the state I want. Okay, so maybe it's Connecticut this time. So now I've got the results only from Connecticut. I find that's the easiest way. Now, you can also use the more search options tab. That will allow you to do your search string here, combine different areas, and then narrow down by country. But as you can see, I would have to go to North America first to load North America up, and then go to state once that map opens up. So two different ways you can get to a specific state.
Thank you. And we have a question and a compliment. It says that we love that this type of database can search broadly without needing to use historical language. Have we considered making a glossary on related topics, such as we do with our product, America's Historical Newspapers? It's a great question.
That is a very, very good suggestion. To the best of my knowledge, we have not created such a document as of yet, but that is a great suggestion and one we will definitely bring forward.
Thank you. Okay, let's see. Oh, along those lines, social justice is perhaps a modern term. How do we look at the topic of social justice, but perhaps in a more historical context or in a foreign context that maybe don't use the exact same terms?
Right. So what we would need to do, of course, in here would be type in, if we're going to do a keyword search, is do that keyword search using the terms we, again, like the variants we just spoke about, would be looking at those terms that would have been used way back when.
Thank you, Matt. Now, I'd like to show you around Newsbank's Marketing and Resource Center. Let's head to our website, www.newsbank.com. Here, you'll select your library type. I'll click on Public Libraries, then Support, and then the Marketing and Resource Center. Here you can go directly to the resource to which your library subscribes, whether it's Access World News or America's News. But today, of course, we're going to click on Black Life in America. Here, the first step is to create visibility on your library's website. You can see we have a web graphic and description available for you to post on your library's homepage, electronic resources page, or in guides created for specific sections. Just right-click on the graphic to save and copy the image, and then add it to your website. Moving down, the next section contains videos specifically for this resource. We have 2 short videos for Black Life in America. One is an introduction to the product, which is an easy way to announce the resource to patrons or even your colleagues. It's really intended to generate interest with any new user. The next is how to use Black Life in America, which many librarians and patrons find to be a straightforward way to give a basic overview of the resource. Let me click on the link to show you what it looks like and what the web page looks like so you can more easily find it. These videos are each less than 2 minutes long, and they can be embedded on your website or add to an e-newsletter. Some of our libraries use these in announcements to highlight a new resource or perhaps highlight a resource of the month. Clicking back here into the Resource Center, if you prefer a paper copy of search tips, you can find it here. This is also a good item for e-newsletters or to add to social media to share. If you're like me, sometimes I like a how-to video, and other times I actually like that physical copy to be able to follow the steps. So we have both options for you to use and to share. Moving into the next section, promoting your Newsbank resources. So in addition to those Black Life in America videos, we have ideas for promoting your resources on social media and throughout the library. So let's start here. Each month, we create a series of ready-to-use social media posts covering a variety of topics to help promote awareness and to get users into your Newsbank resources, particularly Access World News and America's News. I'll show you here on this page where you can sign up, and you can, if you sign up, we'll email the posts directly to you each month, or you can come to this page and download the current month's social media posts at any time. Many of our customers have told us that these are really helpful to help with their social media planning to receive these each month. For example, this month in October, we have posts to help promote Teentober, Media Literacy Week. We have some fun fall recipe ideas like Caramel Apple Day, which includes a link to a recipe. And we also have a spooky article about scary ghost stories that could be fun to share around Halloween. And there are also many other options for you to use when the time is right for you. We also have specific ready-to-use posts to let patrons know about your new Black Life in America resource. You can see here, we have suggested text and graphics with video links or links to our webpage for more information. So all you need to do is copy and paste. Now back in the Resource Center, you can see here we have a link to our on-demand webinar page. You can find a copy of today's session along with webinars about other Newsbank products. And we also get the question very frequently, can I share these or embed these on my website? And the answer is yes, please do. These are made for you to share, to help inform your colleagues, your patrons, whoever uses your Newsbank resources. One other idea I'd like to share and mention, if your library subscribes to Niche Academy, it's the video tutorial platform, you can find us there too. All of our tutorial videos are in Newsbank's Academy, and if you're a subscriber, we encourage you to add our videos to your Academy. It's another way to get those informational videos into the hands of your patrons. And this is what our Academy looks like, so you will recognize it when you search for us in Niche's Marketplace. Again, back in the Resource Center, one more item I'd like to highlight is our bookmarks. We have them in a variety of products, including Black Life in America. You can just download them and print to share around your library. Again, I think it's nice to have some printed materials to go along with the electronic resources. I am a fan of both. Now, I'd like to quickly move on to one of our newer support tools. This is particularly for those of you working in academic or school libraries. As you know, when libraries move to remote learning, the focus in many districts turn to learning management systems to connect and interact with students and parents too in many cases. Newsbank supports this move and can integrate with many leading discovery service and learning management systems such as Canvas, Blackboard, and more. Let me show you our page here. Now this will work for any Newsbank resource, America's News, Access World News, Black Life in America, all of your subscriptions. Our integrations feature a single sign-on, embedding in class pages, the ability to easily add articles or curated lists of sources, or you can add Black Life in America to a class, a module, or an assignment. You can see we have PDF how-to guides and short video tutorials to help walk through the various areas of setup for your LMS. Now, if you have an IT department that's responsible for setting up these integrations, we recommend sharing this web page with them to help you get started, because we know it can be tricky. And if you have any trouble, or your IT department, just reach out to our customer service team and we'll help you get set up. Now, I'd like to share with you a few examples of how some libraries are showcasing their Black Life in America resources. First, we have an example of a website from a library in Connecticut. They subscribe to 3 resources from Newsbank: America's Historical Newspapers, Black Life in America, and Research Rocket. They placed their Newsbank resources under a bright banner with descriptions to make it easier for users to find. This is really important because different resources can be used for different types of projects or different types of research, and this allows patrons to really go directly into the resource that best suits their needs. Next, in Texas, we can see an example of Access World News and Black Life in America in their A to Z database page. It's listed alphabetically under their new and trial databases area. We've heard from many customers that placement in multiple areas throughout the website makes it easier to really find those electronic resources. Our next example comes from Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, listing their 2 Newsbank resources as recommended primary source databases. Our customers have told us that Black Life in America supports discussions and programs and research in a variety of areas, perhaps book clubs or a civil discourse program. It's good for homework help and more. So as I mentioned earlier, one way to promote the resource is through social media. And we do have those ready to use social posts that I showed with you, but we know some libraries really like to make it a little bit more personal. So I'd like to share 2 great examples from South Carolina and Kentucky, where our customers used the graphic from the Marketing and Resource Center to create an eye-catching announcement of their own. And then that refers users back to their library websites. And we want to thank you for your creativity and engagement. And I'd like to ask you, if you have other ideas to share, we do welcome them. We would love to showcase your library and the ideas you have for sharing electronic resources, particularly on social media or newsletters, however you connect with your users. As we wrap up today, we know that staying on top of your resources and creating visibility can be time-consuming, especially if you have new staff or you're looking for some fresh ideas. Please reach out to us. We will happily provide a complimentary training session for your team. Also, if you experience any technical issues, our customer service team is here and ready to assist. We are happy to share a recording of today's presentation with you and all of the links, so you can get right into those web pages to pull out the information that you're most interested in. Just send us an email or give us a call, and we'll be happy to share this information with you. Also, if you have colleagues who are unable to make the presentation today and you feel that they would benefit, we're happy to send along the recording for you to share with them. We hope that you found today's training session to be valuable and that you have actionable ways to reach out to your patrons, faculty, students, all of your library users right away. On behalf of the Newsbank team, thank you for spending part of your day with us. Goodbye.